One of the more satisfying activities on the boat is splicing braid on braid, because you can get it done for you, but if you can do it yourself, why not? There are lots and lots of videos on YouTube that you can go and look at. I would strongly recommend you look at the English braids tutorial. I've used that, find that very useful. And what I'm going to do is quickly run you through and show you what we do. This is not aimed to be a tutorial, it's just this is what you can do. I need to make 2 pieces of braid on braid this size for my traveller, which has the ropes have died. And the tools that I'm going to use are a sharp knife, lighter to just seal the ends, Sharpie. These are called fids, and I have several different sizes, and these are the ones I'll probably use for this. And they are a hollow needle, and the idea being is the rope goes in the back of there, and you can push it through, and it's a needle with a hole. It's a fid. This is a Swedish fid, which is another variant, and you can use this for pulling. Don't use that one very often. A needle and good pair of scissors. Okay, so we just get rid of the end that would have been chopped in the shop. Organise what size eye you want, and I'm looking at something like that size. And then you take the fid that's the right size and sort of put it next to it, and move the rope until you've got a fid length left here. Mark the end of the fid to denote the start and the finish of the loop. In the other end of the rope, or if you can, about 2 or 3 meters down the rope, but this is only a sort of couple of meters, just make a loop in the rope and do an overhand knot in there. And the reason you're doing this is because what you need to do is to be able to stop the outer case from travelling. So if it's a good way down a rope, that's good. So that's normally you'd do it and you'd have a lot more rope left. So you've got your A mark and your B mark. At the B mark, we're going to push it together slightly, and we're going to extract the inner core from that point. So we're going to just sort of do this, and we're going to get a little baby fid here, and we're just going to make a hole in here. And this is a bit of digging that you've got to do now. And the idea is you're going to have to get in there and pull out that centre section. Just use the fid to ease it out. There we come. So then you pull out the centre section here. There we go, look. Pull that out. And don't worry too much about these bits and pieces, but there we go. Then you've got 2 separated parts there. Okay, so we've marked where it came out of that. We just mark again because we'll need that. At this point you can go ahead and pull out some of this from here because we'll need this in a bit. And I would strongly recommend that you take a piece of tape, and just tidy up the ends, because we're going to need to do some fiddling and farting around in a bit. So you'll remember we had 1 fid length from the end, like that, there, 1 fid length to our A mark. So we're going to do the same here, but we're going to go backwards from this mark here on the rope, on the inner, and we're going to mark 1 fid length back there. And then we're going to move the inner forward, so you need to pull a bit more out, and do a 3/4 of a fid length. So that's sort of, there would be half. This is about 3/4 here, or 2/3, depending on what you want to do. And this is the C mark. Okay. So we just mark that on. So we've got effectively got where it came out of the. We've got to mark where it came out of the casing. We've got a C mark, and we've got a D mark, and we'll need this one later. And then there's the original A over there, and of course this is the B. If this doesn't make any sense, don't worry, it's really, really logical. Again, English braids video, really, really good. This is where we start using the fid now. So we are going to take the outer cover, and we're going to place it from here, and we're going to take it through to that point there. So this is your C mark and this is your D mark. So the way the fid works is that you load the fid by putting it inside the needle here, and there we go, just pop it in there like that. Now there is a little cutout just here which captures the captures the casing and stops it from pulling backwards. What we do then is we go into the middle of the core, and what you want to try and do is make sure that it goes through logically. Go through the centre of the core like this, and as you can see it just expands nicely, and we can just push it through like this. And you just got to make sure you go through the centre of it and don't snag any of the fibres. That's the trick. Now once you've got it through and you've got it, you can come out at this point here, and making sure ideally that you come out in a place that is logical for the rope to sit nicely. Otherwise it generally doesn't work properly. So we're going to push it down, keep going, keep going, keep going, push the fid through, and as you can see it goes through like this, and then we wind up with, we can pull that back out of the fid, and what we wind up with is this rather complicated looking assembly in here, like so. So fluff it out. Now you can either cut it with a knife, but I find that this is where the decent pair of scissors comes, and we're just going to cut across at an angle like that. So cut across there. Once we've feathered our core off, we want to pull it back through into the outer, but be very careful here because you don't want to go too far. Just gently, 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 so it just disappears, because the last thing you want to do is lose it all the way down here because you can't get it back. So just gently pull like that. Keep milking this outer cover until this disappears nicely in there. Just a tiny, tiny bit more. Really, really don't want to go too far. And what you should wind up with is a nice, neat finish like that. So you wind up with it showing like a sort of thick to thin here. Now what I do now, because I'm a little paranoid about losing it, I tend to stick a needle through here, just like that, and that holds the inner and the outer together and can't lose it, so I can't actually lose it now. What we're going to do after this point is we're going to take the outer, so the inner, and we're going to put it inside the outer, and we're going to all the way round, and we're going to come out just beyond here. So just to demonstrate that, it's going to go in here, and it's going to go all the way down and come out round about here-ish. And when you're doing this, it's really important that you don't snag anything in here when you get to here, because if you snag this inner when you get to here, it just won't work. So one of the ways you can do this is to pull a little bit more of the inner through, and then you can sort of milk this backwards and forwards as you get to this point. So the fid is going to come in, the fid's going to come in above this point here and come out round about 5 centimeters past it down here. So let's try this. I'm going to push it all down inside so it's neat. So we wind up with that, and the key is to try and make sure it's locked in place. Now, so we want to now, making sure that we've got a nice neat finish here, we're going to go in somewhere about here, and we're going to do, there we go, through the centre as you can see, through the centre. Keep it going. The tricky bit is just making it past the bit here. Keep it going. Keep it going. This is where it gets interesting, because you're now dealing with something that's just inside. So keep it going. Now what's critical is that this thing here moves freely and you haven't snagged it, and that's the key to making it work really well. And we keep going, keep going, keep going. And we're about sort of, I don't know, half a fid length, 5 centimetres, something like that here. And we just made sure this still isn't snagging, and we're going to come out about here. Alright, and pull the fid through, just pull it through nicely like so, and there we go. So that now, we'll take the fid off, and you can see that if I pull this, that starts to move through there. So let's just recap what we did. Stuck a needle in here to stop that moving. We took the fid and we went all the way through the outer here, all the way down, and came out about 5 centimetres down here. So far so good. Having got to this position now, we pull the loose end here until this is in that sort of procedure there, and just make it neat so that the two are roughly the same size. Now what we're going to do is called milking. So what we're going to do is we are going to pull the excess cord this side, and we're going to push so that the cover goes over the top of this here. And this is no longer required. We can take that off there, and as you can see, what we're left with is the start of our loop, again with this one here. We don't do anything with this one here at all, so this is just leave that lying around. And we will then take from the rope, we will then start to push forwards, and if you watch this section here, you'll see it get smaller. So as we push the rope forwards, you'll notice that this is a fat bit, and as you can notice, as I push forward here, this starts to disappear like so. And this is the tricky bit. We've got to make sure that all of this goes through neatly. Now what you might have to do is put tension here, and give it a bit of a tug and a bit of a pull, because if it doesn't go in instantly, sometimes it can be a bit of a nuisance. This is going together sort of okay, but you've really got to try and keep the tension on, because you're trying to fit two pieces of rope into the same place. So we'll just keep going and keep pushing, and hopefully, if I can do it, if not, I'm going to have to resort to the way I normally do it, which is stick it around a chair and go. But this looks to be not too bad. Push this forward, and there we go. Now normally I would be putting tension on this and doing it another way, but for the purposes of the camera I was trying to show how it can be achieved. But because as you can see, this section here, you've got a little bump, and you just have to keep rolling it and pushing it and rolling it until it disappears, and once it's disappeared, you're away. And it's very, very difficult to do this on camera, because I'm struggling a bit here. So after a reasonably large degree of huffing and puffing, there's what we end up with, which is our cord. Now what we do now is we take our sharp knife and we cut off close to, we want to cut off close to the core here, because we're just going to then pull this back through. So if I just cut this through here like so, and all I've got to do is just ease and fiddle and ease, because this will go back in itself. so. And if you get any loose little bits like that, I'm not too concerned about this because I'm not selling this as a product, so I'm not bothered. But that is a very neat eye splice ready to go. Yes, there's a little bit of loose here, and what I'll do is, remember earlier I talked about the lighter. Well, I use the lighter literally to tidy up any odds and sods, and there's another little bit just there. All I'm doing is just losing the inconsistencies, and any hard bits I just rub off, and what we are left with is an eye splice that looks like that. Now to repeat that 4 times.